The film opens with Telly sitting alone on a swing in a quiet children's playground, surrounded by the echoes of a past life. At home, she is seated at her dresser, absorbed in a photograph of her son Sam. Her eyes then drift to a home video of Sam. She gazes at old newspaper articles recounting the tragic plane crash that claimed her son's life. As she prepares to leave the house, her phone rings. It's her husband, Jim, inviting her to join him for dinner. She declines the offer, but suggests instead that she will prepare a meal for him at home. During their conversation, Telly's eyes linger on a photograph of herself, Jim, and Sam. Stepping outside, Telly runs into her friend Elliot and notices her car is missing. A man points her to where it's parked, though she's sure she didn't leave it there. She gets in and heads to Dr. Jack Munce's office. Reaching for her coffee, she finds it gone. Munce tells her she had declined coffee today, but she insists she can still taste it. Munce suggests she might have imagined the taste after smelling his coffee. That evening, Jim praises Telly for returning to work the next day. While retrieving wine glasses, she's shocked to find that a photograph of her and Sam now only shows her and Jim. Upset, she confronts Jim and throws the photo, shattering the frame. She storms out and goes back to the playground. At the playground, she meets Ash, who lost his daughter Lauren in the same plane crash. He offers to go home with him, but she refuses. Later that night, Telly finds Jim in bed and pleads with him not to make her forget Sam. The next day, she looks through photo booth pictures of Sam for comfort, only to find her other photographs missing. Frustrated, she leaves a message for Jim, demanding an explanation. In a final attempt to reconnect with her memories, she tries to watch the home video, but it displays nothing. Overcome with emotion, she breaks down. When Jim arrives home, she demands that he leave. Jim tries to reassure her, claiming that the tapes were always blank. Dr. Munce arrives and Telly questions him about whether he believes Jim is suffering from a psychological disorder. Munce reveals a shocking revelation. Telly never had a son. Instead, she had a stillborn child and must have fabricated the entire life of Sam. Distraught by this revelation, Telly's mental state deteriorates, and Munce suggests that perhaps she should be admitted to a hospital for her safety. Telly rushes to retrieve the photo booth pictures, only to find that they now show her and Jim with no sign of Sam. Panicked, she drives through the rain to the library, but the archived newspaper reports she requests are also altered. Overwhelmed, she heads to Elliot's place. At Elliot's, Telly reveals her argument with Jim about Sam. Elliot's confusion, claiming not to know Sam, only increases Telly's frustration. When Jim arrives, Telly leaves in a hurry. Telly then visits Ash, whom she had met at the playground. She asks if he remembers her and her son and wants to discuss Lauren. Ash denies having a daughter and insists she must be mistaken. He is drunk and goes to bed, leaving Telly to investigate. While searching his home, she finds a room filled with hockey memorabilia and children's drawings behind the wallpaper, adding to her confusion. The following morning, as she prepares breakfast for Ash, she implores him to check the room she had discovered, suggesting it used to be his daughter's. Ash dismisses the drawings as belonging to the house's previous owner and accuses her of being insane. She told him Sam and Lauren were friends and they both died in a plane crash. She told him he was not an alcoholic before and he started drinking after Lauren's death. In a final plea, Telly urges him to say his daughter's name aloud to trigger his memory. Ash, feeling unsettled, steps away to contact the police, apologizing to Telly and stating that she needs professional help. The police arrive to take Telly into custody, but outside, she's intercepted by agents from the National Security Agency. Inside, Ash begins to recall fragments of his daughter Lauren and rushes out in a frantic attempt to find Telly, and spots her in the NSA vehicle. Frantically, he shouts to her that he remembers, but the federal agents attempt to restrain him. Seizing the opportunity, Telly escapes from the car and makes a run for it, evading capture. Agent Dayton pursues her through a building, but ultimately loses her trail. Ash also escaped. As she flees, Telly glances up at the sky and notices an unusual shape forming in the clouds. Back at the police station, Jim is interrogated by Detective Pope. She informs him about a report of Telly vandalizing Ash's apartment and questions why the NSA would have an interest in his wife. Meanwhile, Telly, now alone on a bridge, watches children playing and reminisces about her last moments with Sam. That night, Telly and Ash meet again at the playground swings. Ash is troubled by his inability to remember his daughter Lauren. As they talk, Telly speculates about the possibility of their memories being erased and questions who might have the power to make their children disappear from existence. They decide to find a hotel, but their journey is interrupted when an SUV deliberately crashes into them. They narrowly escape from the NSA agents who are pursuing them and manage to check into a motel. Once settled, Telly calls Dr. Munce to discuss Ash and the disturbing developments. Ash returns with snacks and begins to drink, further adding to the evening's tension. As they prepare for bed, Telly reflects on Ash's questions about how she was able to remember when he could not. The following morning, Telly lies awake, deep in thought about Sam. She wakes Ash and shares her newfound belief that perhaps the children are still alive. Telly and Ash plan to confront Jim, but as they get into the car, a police officer approaches them. In a desperate attempt to evade capture, they drive off, only to find their path blocked by the man who has been watching them. Ash demands that the man move, but when he doesn't comply, Ash drives into him to clear the way. Amidst the chaos, Telly's phone rings. It's Detective Pope, who inquires about the discrepancies in their memories. Telly questions how two people can remember different children if those children never existed, before abruptly ending the call. Telly arrives at Jim's location, but he fails to recognize her. She insists that she knows his wife, but Jim claims he isn't married. Frustrated, she reconnects with Ash, and they are soon pursued by additional NSA agents. The mysterious man is once again observing their movements. Detective Pope investigates the recent hit-and-run incident and observes that there is no blood at the scene, raising further questions. Agent Dayton approaches her, requesting any additional information she may have. Pope inquires whether their investigation relates to the children from the plane crash, but Dayton denies any knowledge of such children or any plane crash. Later that night, Dr. Munce visits Detective Pope. He admits that he once thought Telly was simply delusional, but now harbors doubts about that assessment. Munce suggests that he should be present when they locate Telly, as she may be experiencing a severe psychotic break. In the meantime, Ash is jolted awake by an unsettling noise and discovers an NSA agent named Patalis. Ash restrains Patalis and demands answers. Patalis reveals that there are no children and that he is part of a larger cooperative effort to ensure their survival. Despite Ash's threats, Patalis explains that they were not supposed to remember as part of the experiment. When Telly insists on knowing how to retrieve the children, Patalis cryptically states that they are listening. Without warning, the entire house is destroyed in an explosion. Patalis disappears, leaving Ash and Telly bewildered by why they weren't taken as well. The next day, Detective Pope and Dr. Munce investigate the blast site. They find a message from Telly addressing Pope, claiming that their children have been abducted. They also discover Patalis's ID and learn from witnesses that Telly and Ash were seen fleeing the cabin after the explosion. Telly recalls that the airline involved was Quest Air and decided to investigate their offices. At the office, they surprise an accountant appointed by the court to handle the company's bankruptcy. They deceive her into providing the address of the director, only to find the director's residence abandoned. They decide to spend the night there, hoping for more clues. The following morning, Pope and Munce head to the abandoned house. Telly remembers seeing the mysterious observer as Sam boarded the plane, and Ash finds a picture of this man in the house. As Telly prepares to head to the airport, she senses a sinister presence in the house. Realizing they are being watched, she and Ash smash a window to escape. They prepared to go out, but they saw a car approaching, so Ash told her to go while he stayed behind. Pope arrives at the scene and she encounters the watching man and orders him to stop. When he refuses, Pope shoots him in the leg, but the wound heals instantly. Ash convinces Munce to leave with him, while Telly's car gets stuck in the mud. Pope approaches Telly, affirming her belief in her story and promising to help. However, before the Pope can do more, she is lifted into the sky by an unseen force. Back at Ash's apartment, Telly and Ash reunite. The watching man appears, leading to a confrontation between him and Ash. They both fall out of the window and the watching man crashes to the ground. Ash is whisked away in the same mysterious manner as Pope. Telly rushes to the street but finds no trace of his body. Munce meets Telly and advises her to go to the police, but she insists on going to the airport. Upon arrival, they find the watching man. Telly confronts him, but Munce intervenes, telling the man that the situation has spiraled out of control and that it's time to end the chaos and make things right. The man informs Telly that the ordeal isn't over yet, and Dr. Munce reveals that he is one of the few who knows the full truth. Telly accuses Munce of allowing the entities behind this to have their way. Munce responds that there's no real choice in the matter, they merely attempt to minimize the damage. Telly is desperate to get her son back, but Munce insists that Sam never truly existed. Instead, she was clinging to implanted memories, and they had no understanding of why this is happening. Determined to find answers, Telly approaches the watching man. He tells her that Sam is not just a figment of her imagination, he instructs her to visualize Sam as if he were right there with her. As she sees him in the distance and starts running towards him, calling his name, the watching man reveals that the experiment was never about the children themselves, but about a mother's bond with her child. He demands that she forget Sam, asserting that if she doesn't, the experiment will fail, which he cannot allow. Despite his insistence, Telly refuses to let go of her memories. The watching man screams at her to forget, and glass shatters around her. In a panic, she flees, only to be grabbed by the man by her throat. He tells her that she is different from the others, and needs to remember the first time she ever saw Sam, as he needs that original memory. A blinding flash occurs, and he releases her. He asks what the boy's name was, but Telly, disoriented, responds with, "What boy?" As the man walks away, she recollects being pregnant. She calls after him, affirming that she has a son named Sam. The watching man's voice fades with a whisper, and he says he needs more time before being whisked away. Telly returns home, calling for Sam, but he is not there. She searches the playground, still calling his name. Eventually, Sam appears, and they embrace warmly. She kisses him, and he returns to play. Telly notices Lauren playing nearby, with Ash sitting on the swings. Ash greets her, but appears to have no recollection of the recent events. The movie concludes as they both are sitting on the swings, looking at their kids play. What do you think about these reviews? Do you agree? Let us know in the comments. Also, don't forget to like the video if you've enjoyed the recap, and subscribe to my channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one!